Welcome to today's show, and today we're going to be talking about this woman right here, this bag of bones, Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor, and her recent decision to reject, yes, you heard me correctly, and I said the word correctly, reject a challenge to the New York COVID vaccine mandate. If you happen to view my previous video about Kyrie Irving and why I think he's owed a lot of money and an apology, maybe you already know where I'm going to go with this. But again, we're going to be addressing her and the fact that she's not even worthy to be sitting up there as a justice making decisions that affects the lives of millions of people. Let me show you why. Before I get into that, make sure you subscribe, make sure you share the video. I'm here to bring you the hard-hitting content that you deserve and need. Without further ado, let's get into it. So we're going to hear from Ben, as I played in my previous video, and then we're going to reference also the article that he's actually talking about. I have it up, so I'll show you. It's not just smoke and mirrors. This was weeks ago, and the decision that she made, if you look at this, came out just November 10th. Right? So bear that in mind when you're watching this. It's already been established that the vaccines do not work, and yet she made this decision. So let's listen again carefully.
Well, from the very outset of the COVID vaccine movement, there are a couple of rationales that were given for why people should take the COVID vaccines. One was apparently there was robust data on the lowering of the risk of death, particularly if you were old and vulnerable, from baseline COVID. And if you were young and you were healthy, then the idea that you were going to die from COVID was always a misnomer. The chances of you dying from COVID at the age of 30, if you work out 4 times a week and you eat healthy and you don't have diabetes or something, well, those chances were always extremely low. But if you were 65 plus and you were obese and you had diabetes, the chances of you dying from COVID were actually fairly high compared to things like the flu. And then COVID lowered the rates of death on that. So that was one reason to take the COVID vaccine, was to protect yourself. And that case was fairly strong for a large percentage of the population because we have a lot of elderly people in the United States and we have a lot of fat people in the United States and we have a lot of people with pre-existing conditions in the United States. Then there was a secondary case that was made. And that case was made largely on the basis of Pfizer claims and Moderna claims that it would lower the transmission rates to take the COVID vaccine. And the way to bring an end to the pandemic was get the vaccine so that your friends wouldn't get COVID. Get the vaccine so your parents wouldn't get COVID. And this was promoted very early on by Pfizer and Moderna, like back in November, December of 2020, before Joe Biden even took office. And given that that was the data that was being released, that was the data that most of us in the media used, including in conservative media, because that was the available data. And I suggested.
Now, here's my question before I even allow him to go any further. Where did the data come from? This is what bothers me when people talk about the data and trust the science. Listen. The pandemic started in 2020. Within a short space of time, a year, I don't care how much money you spent on R&D, there is no way to test this drug effectively enough to say, listen, it is ready for the public. I don't care about emergency use and all that other crap that they talk about. Listen, is it going to be safe? Is it going to work? So not just is it going to work, is it going to be safe, number one? And then, is it going to actually do what you say it's going to do? In just over a year. And you people believe that. I didn't believe it. That's why I didn't take it. I'm not a physician. Wasn't really in a position to tell people, listen, don't take it. No, you have to make an educated decision for yourself. You have to use deductive reasoning, some intellect. Look at history. What have people within those same stratospheres been guilty of and culpable of? And then you say, you know what? Nope, not going to take it. Ride it out. Just like those people that live in the flood zones, they get flooded every year or every couple of years. They're like, yeah, we gonna rebuild. Like that.
said that people should get the vaccine back in about December of 2020 for specifically this reason. That was the available information at the time. Now, there are people who are saying, ignore that information. It's not true. But, and maybe they turned out to be right, as it turns out.
Yes,
but
it turned out to be
jumping
right.
to conclusions based on the absence of data is not the same thing as trying to follow the data until it turns. In any case, it is now perfectly clear that we were lied to. And we were lied to, and we were lied to at a very high level from very, very early on by both the vaccine companies in terms of the ability of the vaccine to prevent transmission. And we were also lied to by our politicians who apparently knew better. And they just...
Bro, when have politicians been known to do anything but lie? They lie to get in. Once they're in, they get a taste of the power. They have to continue lying to keep the power. So what exactly, what premise are you basing this on that, oh, well, the politicians lied? That's what they've been doing. That's what they've been doing. There are very few, I could probably count them on, out of the whole government, there's probably one or two hands. You can literally count the number that will stick to their word. That's for the people, that will do things in the interest of the people and not be swayed by, big tech, big pharma, all those people that come up there and try to, oh, well, we'll give you this flight, we'll give you this money, and, you'll do this for us, you'll vote this way, right? Yeah, right.
kept lying. And this is creating, you want to know why there's mistrust in the institutions? It would be because of this kind of stuff. It's because you have experts who are constantly telling the platonic lie to people. And people who want to have faith in the experts, because you have to use heuristics when it comes to the world, right? You can't study down on every single issue. When you go to the doctor, the reason you go to the doctor is because you didn't have time to go to medical school. Right? The reason you go to the plumber is because you didn't have time to learn to become a plumber. The reason that you go to the mechanic is because you don't know how to take cars apart. You have to rely on the expertise of another human being who has spent an inordinate amount of time studying an issue, and then you have to sort of take that data and use it as best you can. Now, it can be that you distrust the data. It can be you don't trust the people who are giving you the data. But the big problem here is that when you have an entire institution like the scientific institutions or the government, and the government is issuing lies in order to get you to do a thing, and then it turns out that these things are lies, well, people's distrust in the institution is going to skyrocket, right? Again, if you outsource your plumbing to a plumber, and the plumber just...
Before he even continues, let me say this. All these experts that he's talking about, these people are being told what to say. None of these people studied these things down for themselves. In this case, right? All the doctors are being told what to say, and it's coming basically down to your physician that you go see. They're being told by this higher person that, yes, you have to tell them this. They did not study this issue for themselves. They had nothing to do with creating the vaccine. They don't know anything apart from what they're being told from people higher up in the profession that, yes, you have to endorse this. In the case of a plumber and electrician, these kinds of professions, yeah, you do the work yourself and you tell your customers what they should or should not do. We're talking about on a global scale, you have people at the top in these biotech companies telling the government, yeah, this works, so tell the people that they have to do it. So then the Department of Health and Mental Hygiene, all these physicians are telling doctors, yeah, you have to tell them what to do. And then these doctors are telling other doctors, yeah, you have to do it. Everybody's afraid to lose their job. What do you expect to happen? They're not going based on anything that they studied themselves.
Keeps clogging the lines. At a certain point, you don't use that plumber anymore. If you keep taking your car to the mechanic and the mechanic drops the engine out the bottom of the car, you're not going to go to that mechanic ever again. Well, the same thing is true when it comes to the lies that we were apparently told about the ability of the vaccines to block transmission. So, for example, just a couple of weeks ago, there was...
That's what you call a psychological operation on a massive scale. All these people around the world, all of us are being told, right, by the powers that be, you have to do this because it's going to help this. You have to do this in order to stay employed. You have to. Now, Granted, there are a few places that did not put in those kinds of restrictions, and kudos and salutations to these places or countries or, whatever. But by and large, that's what everybody's being told, right? Oh, people are dying by the millions and all this. Like, yo, it's a very large world with a lot of people. How many billion people died? Was there a mass die off? But what are the after effects going to be from constantly taking one, two, three, then four, then another one, then you have to get the whatever, the booster and all that? What's the long term effect going to be? You can't know that because you have not studied it. Moving on.
There's a Pfizer executive who was being grilled by members of the ECR, the EU, the European Commission. And this Pfizer executive basically said that they never even tested the COVID jab to determine whether it controlled transmission or not. This is an astonishing acknowledgement. She was asked a question, and her name is Janine Small. She was Pfizer's president of international developed markets. She made this admission before the European Union Parliament. She was asked by European Union member of Parliament Rob Roos if the company tested the mRNA vaccine on stopping transmission before they rolled it out. And here is what she said.
Was the Pfizer COVID vaccine tested on stopping the transmission of the virus before it entered the market? If not, please say it clearly. If yes, are you willing to share the data with this committee? And I really want a straight answer, yes or no, and I'm looking forward to it. Thank you very much.
I love the way he asked that question. I love it. This is why it doesn't matter who is bringing forth the truth. It doesn't matter the person's race. None of that matters as far as I'm concerned. People are quick to call us anti-Semitic and all these other things. But listen, when it comes to bringing out the truth, we don't really care who it comes from. As long as you're willing to speak it outwardly and openly and put people's feet to the fire like we should be doing with this woman. Her feet need to be put to the fire and basically dragged through the damn coals. Because this is absurd. It's absurd that you could make this decision, right? And the information is already out there. This person is from Pfizer.
Regarding the question around, did we know about stopping humanisation before it's entered the market? No. We had to really move at the speed of science to really understand what is taking place in the market.
But you didn't move at the speed of science. In fact, it turns out that you were basically lying to the American public and to the global public about the ability to...
You didn't move at the speed of science. What you did was move at the speed of the printing press of money that you guys were going to make. Because all those billions of doses of vaccines that they made, best believe they made bank off of all those doses. They made a lot of money. Trillions. I don't like it when people are disingenuous. I mean, it doesn't matter if it's to me personally or the public at large. When you tell people things, like I said, it's a psychological operation. You scare them into believing, oh, well, if you don't have it and you go see your mom or your dad, they're going to end up dying. A person like me, my mother's 67, pops is upper 70s, so I'm pretty sure there's people out there, parents way older than mine, and then you're thinking about that and you're like, wow, if I don't get it, even if I'm young and I'm healthy, maybe if I go see them for the holidays, I might be carrying it and they're getting sick, they end up dying, and that's going to be my fault. You guilt trip people into taking this thing, and then we find out that it was a lie all along. And what recourse do we have now when people like this moron is saying, "Oh, nah, I'm not gonna allow you to challenge the mandate." Why? So you could protect Biden's Alzheimer's dementia-ridden ass? Because you don't want it knocked down? What about the millions of New Yorkers who are being affected by this? You have teachers in schools telling kids, oh, they should get vaccinated. Like, that's none of your damn business. Let the parents decide that for themselves. But then again, the parents are uninformed. They're going based on what their doctors say. Nobody's doing any research. Nobody's looking into anything. They're just going by what someone else that they deem to be an authority figure tells them, and then they're going ahead and doing it. This is why when you see those ads, you're up late at night watching TV, you see something that says, oh, if you were injured by Johnson & Johnson's baby powder and your family member had cancer, then you might be able to get some money in a lawsuit. Hey. I don't want that shit. I don't want to be affected by it, period. So I just prefer not to use it.
These vaccines to stop transmission, which is an amazing, amazing thing because, again, huge swaths of people who are pushing vax mandates. So I never pushed vaccine mandates. My company actually sued to prevent the Biden vax mandate from going forward in the United States with regard to OSHA. But this was pushed on the basis that you would not infect mom and dad if you got the vax yourself. You did it for the community. You didn't just get the vax for yourself. You got the vax for the community. Well, if you got the vax for yourself, good for you. I mean, that was your choice. But again, the idea that was promoted, and it makes me really, really angry to be lied to by these people, especially because these people then continue to claim their expertise. They continue to claim that we should believe them on everything. And then they whine that people don't believe the science. You never presented science. Instead, you presented a platonic lie about what exactly was going to happen if people took the vax. It was going to die down. There would be no more transmission. And what's more, it turns out the Biden White House knew this and they promoted the lie anyway. This is truly amazing stuff here. According to the...
Now, just in case you're wondering, right, you can look up the article for yourself, right? You can see it right here in the search bar. It's called Inside the Successes, Missteps and Failures of Biden's Early Presidency. And if you just read through it, you get to the part where they're talking about the issues with the vaccines and stuff like that. The fact that, it isn't what they said it was. You can, read the whole thing for yourself. I won't bother reading it. Of course, you can search it up on Google, do that. But, I mean, you pretty much heard it from the horse's mouth. You heard the woman from Pfizer make the admission that, oh, no, we never tested it to see that if it would stop spreading. We just, trying to make some dough, basically, yes. We're moving at the speed of science. What science? What science? Where did you get to that? Where did you get your raw data from? I would love to see that raw data of how many people were tested and for what duration, the side effects, efficacy, etc. I would love to see that. And like I said, these things, they take time to develop. Everybody who knows that you spend a bundle in R&D before you're able to put something out that is safe for the public. But you see, in this case, the pharmaceutical companies have a little out, right? You can't sue them for liability. So it doesn't matter if, a small percentage, has some bad side effects up to dying. What are you going to do? You say, oh, nobody forced you to take it. You could lose your job and, you don't have to take it. You threatened people's livelihood, took away people's livelihood like myself. My job fired me. Right? Even today, you're applying for jobs. People are still telling you, especially in New York City, Oh, you have to be vaccinated. Nigga, what? Why? Haven't you heard this shit doesn't work? You'll be on your 12th booster and they'll tell you come for a 13th. And all these New York politicians, the mayor, the governor, the senator, they all trash. They all garbage. Right? Because by now, they should have been like, you know what? We need to get rid of this thing. Let's move forward. Whoever still wants to um, wear a mask when you go on large um, outdoor gatherings or whatever, that's fine. But you just have to try to stay healthy. Exercise, eat well. Give yourself plenty of fluids. Water and stuff like that. Try your best to stay healthy as opposed to allowing people to be in a sickened state, and then when this thing hits them and it takes them down. That's what you really should be doing. Y'all over there fighting for abortion rights and all this other stuff. Meanwhile, the economy is tanking, inflation is on the rise, and you still have this BS in place. But you're for the people, right? This person here, you did this in the interest of the people. I don't think so. I suspect this witch knows better, and she's just like, I wipe my ass with the Constitution. I don't care about your religious freedoms. Right? Because let's not forget, one of the groups in here, right here, as well as a group called New Yorkers for Religious Liberty, they took that away. They're saying that regardless of if you say, listen, I'm requesting religious exemption, right? I don't want it. Most High will take care of me, God willing. Even if I get it, I'll fight through it and I'll be okay. That's what I had to do, because I did have it. You have to wonder about these people, and sometimes you have to make a decision on your own. I know it's difficult because there's a financial burden that comes with being a free thinker. You can see what happened to Ye and all his money. You can see what happened to Kyrie and how suspended, took money here, took money there. When he refused to get the jab, they left him out of games, losing millions. But this is proof. We already have proof. We know by the number of times saying, oh, it's going to be around, and you need to get boosted every few months or whatever. It doesn't work, so what's the point? Anyways, that's my take. Look up the article for yourself. This guy has 5.15 million subscribers. This thing has less than 300,000 views in over 2 weeks. I mean, if you guys want hard-hitting stories that actually tell the truth and the facts the way they're supposed to, y'all should probably subscribe over here instead. Because he's just giving you the watered-down version right now. He's not really putting people's feet to the fire and saying, listen, this should have been done away with a long time ago. He's not saying, okay, you give us this BS facts, so where'd you get them from? Who's going to be charged? Who's going to be thrown in prison? Anyway, make sure you subscribe, you like, you can leave a comment or not. Or matter of fact, you can even dislike, I don't care. Just make sure you subscribe. Share it if you feel it's worthy of sharing. I only try to come on here with content that is pertinent, that's important, that will probably change lives, give people the kind of information that they need to hear. Until next time, that's my time. And I'm out.